Good evening, everybody. Today we are on a Garcia 65. Yes, you heard that right, a Garcia 65. This is the predecessor to the Garcia 60, and in some respects a very different boat. Some would say a better boat. Leave it up to you. I think it's an awesome sailing boat. So let's talk. Let's go and have a look around, shall we? Going to start at the bow today. Being Garcia, she is fully aluminium. As you can see up the front here, you have a fully integrated double barrel anchor roller set up also with your bowsprit. You have FREDERIC's hydraulic furlers forward, so main genoa. Up there will be for your code and spinnaker, and then just behind me here for your jib. So pretty good set of sails. Now, one of the things that differs with this slightly older Garcia, this ship was actually built in 2008. The newer ones, the anchor windlass, which is here, we've got a Lumar windlass, on the newer models is actually set up over there by the mast, and you have an anchor chain locker. It's one of the things, evolution of Garcia, which I think is a good thing. I think on a 65 foot and upwards, it's not going to make that much difference. But as you can see down there, there is a huge chain locker, a watertight bulkhead just here. Let's see if you can see there. And drainage. And if I come this side of the jib, you'll be able to see you have fresh water or water flush off your anchor chain and so on. I will give you that all-important look aft as I'm here. So she's very beamy. Now, just behind that watertight bulkhead, which is all the way forward there, you have a massive sail locker. Somewhere to store all your extra sheets, lines, fenders and so on. There is a ladder down, and the electric control for your windlass is here. And there is also another, I would say semi-watertight bulkhead, but you have another bulkhead there. Hatch for the forward cabin, which we'll have a look at in a minute. And then here, business end of your mast. This one is actually set up with boom furling, a massive system on this particular yacht. It's all hydraulic, so it's all push button sailing. And here, if you can, you'll be able to see the running track that the mainsail actually goes up on and up through, all the way up. Triple spreader mast. And a huge, I shall step down off of here, a huge hydraulic vang connecting to the boom. All important granny bars either side for your safety, and there are plenty of spare halyards, whether it's for spinnaker, code 0 and so on. And you'll notice at the front of the mast you have your spinnaker pole all the way up there, and you can adjust your halyards and lock them off. You need to do it manually on the mast itself, which is really, really good. A large Anderson 50 self-tailing winch on this side. Steps for the mast if you have to go up a little bit, and then the same again, another Anderson self-tailing winch here. So single tracks for your genoa, and your jib can run through on the blocks as well. So you have a look through. Now you'll see that there are some bits and pieces here. Normally you would have an adjustment line, and that would actually run back to the cockpit so that you can pull your car forward or back. It's just good for trimming. so you don't really have to come forward. You can see you've got a block lock there, but you don't, once underway, you don't have to come forward. If you're going downwind or upwind, you can adjust from the cockpit, outboard shrouds, and then handrails running pretty much all the way aft. Both sides, both starboard and port, you have access for dock and marina. And then you'll notice this immense hardtop. Something which I think you might see familiar is the windows on here with the right back with the vents, a little bit reminiscent of the Oyster design or the old Discovery design. The Discovery 55 was a fabulous vessel. Once again, handholds coming aft, and then you have your blocks coming back to the cockpit. Once you're in the cockpit, this section I don't think has actually changed that much with the new Garcia. You still have your 2 aft seats on the new 60. I'll leave a link for that up in the corner. The seats are further aft. We've got an extra 5 foot on this boat. Twin helm as per usual. Before we get onto the helm stations and so on, I will show you when we get off access from exterior, from your drop down transom into mechanical space. There is a watertight bulkhead forward. Here you have your gas bottle storage, and then just through here you can have dinghy storage, divers bottles and so on, and that's actually your transom, bathing platform, and the hydraulic controls for that are just here on the starboard side. So nicely sorted. Nice big transom and a spot for your bathing ladder just there. Salut. And a passerelle for boarding, all hydraulic. Backstays are hydraulic, adjustable hydraulic, and then you have your dinghy arch. So if you wanted, you can mount some solar panels up here, and this is something Garcia changed, which I don't think they should have done. I think is absolutely brilliant, is you actually have a cradle for your tender, so you can drop your tender down on the cradle. One thing I've noticed with the cradles is they get your tender in a better spot. You're not having to push them out and so on, but they've changed it. Let me know in the comments below what you think. We are going to start on the starboard helm. So as we were talking about the tender lift here, you have electronic controls. Now, push button sailing as coined by Garcia, but we're on the Garcia 65. So as you may or may not be able to see, you have your Genoa in and out, or Genoas, and mainsail up and down on the boom furling. Here's a question for all of you. Now, Furuno do mostly commercial stuff. It's higher end stuff. So what we see nowadays is BNG and Raymarine. Amel use Furuno. It's just a lot more reliable. So as you can see, you've got repeaters forward and autopilot here. Let me know in the comments below what you think. If I had the money, I would. You know, I'm a huge fan of Raymarine, but you know, it's all down to what's in your pocketbook. Compass, very, very important. And then your throttle controls. So electronic throttles. Bow thruster, I don't know if you can see I can't see the screen because the sun is so bright. And then while we're here on the starboard helm, your primary winch, which is a Harken 2-speed 60 self-tailing winch. You can see this boat's been exploring. You can see your electronic controls, and then just forward of that, so past your pedestal, you have a handy little cupboard for your tail ends here, and then a Harken 2-speed 60. Once again, this is, if I move the sheets out the way, electric, and then all importantly your bank of clutches. So all your sheets and reefing are coming back, and then it's repeated over on the port side as well. Really nice bit of kit. Handy little storage compartment there. Something I'd like to point out too while we're here is it's actually dipped out. This is real teak, the deck's in real teak, and on both helm stations you have a dip out, so when you're on the hill you can keep an even standing. In the centre of the cockpit you have a storage workshop area, which is absolutely awesome. So spare parts where you need them. Nobody really wants to go down below if you absolutely have to for bits and pieces for outside. So great crate system, which you know that they've brought forward into their newer boats. And then over on this side, there's just, and that then goes all the way, if you can see. Once again, there's your open transom. So fabulous space. Room for a dive compressor, dive bottles, etc. Port helm set up pretty much similar. Once again, so you have your tender lift for the arms at the back, repeated fuel genoa and main, autopilot, compass, electronic throttle controls, and then if you're switching helms you'll see that you can, I don't have to explain this to you guys all the time. So a Harken 2-speed 70 self-tailing winch there, and you have the electronic controls underneath. One thing I will do while I'm here is sit down and actually give you a view forward. So if you're just sat here playing with the winch, I actually think you have better, I'm going to have to go back over the old video, but I think you actually have better visibility forward from the helm on this yacht than you do on their newer one. All except for the visibility in the hardtop. But this hardtop itself is actually larger than, well, than what you have on the new one. So repeating over here on the port side, you have another handy bin for your tail ends, a Harken 72-speed electric winch, and your controls are just down here. And then forward, a bank of clutches for all your bits and pieces. Running through under the deck. If you do not know about Garcia, I will leave a link in the comments below, and I'll leave a link for this particular boat because this is for sale. Give you a pano of the cockpit area. This boat itself is 19.2 meters, which is 65 foot, a draft of just over 4.4 meters, and a beam or full beam of 5.5 meters. So, you know, plenty of room. Cockpit table, just want to point out, before I go too far, on the cockpit table, so you have a huge nav screen here, and then plenty of space for the all-important drink storage and stuff like that in the middle. Sandwiches for when you're on watch. Now, the new Garcia, which we'll switch over to the video, we'll put some B-roll up. It's this section where they've made quite a few differences, modernised it a little bit more, and then, but still forward you have nav screen, autopilot, repeaters, fusion stereo. You have your engine management system here. This is actually quite a comprehensive digital system. I will admit straight away off the bat, I don't know too much about this system, but as you can see digitally, it gives you your water temperature, oil temperature, so on, revs and bits and pieces, and you can go through the system. I don't know it. I will speak to the sales guy about it, but I don't want to make comments on it and, you know, be a complete and utter arse. But there you go. Electronic throttles. And then once again, for you have, you know, autopilot bits and pieces, you know, repeaters. Really, really, really good. Opening hatch forward, so you can get those when you're in the warmer climates. You can get a nice draft coming through the cockpit. It's not too bad. And give you a pano of the Saloon. So she's fully aluminium from the Garcia shipyard over in Cherbourg. Anyway, starting on the port side, you have the all-important nav desk, the beautiful, beautiful leather seat. We're going to sit down while we go through this. So, once again, you have a screen. Nice to see a clock and a barometer. Sat phone. And then on my right, you have a systems panel. You don't get this very often anymore, and I absolutely love it. One, you actually have proper switches. Two, you have a map, design of your boat with lights and so on, indicating what's going on. The same over here. I just wish, I don't know why they stopped doing it. I get it with production boats, most of them out on charter now, they don't need them. You know, you've got 15 drunk people there for a week's holiday, you don't need any of this. But I still think it's one of those really, really important bits of kit if you're, you know, if you're building proper boats. Nav system, VHF, AIS, USB chargers. I'm not going to lift it up too much, but you do have somewhere for charts. You can see a great big pack of charts there and there. Like I say, this boat's been all over the world. USB charging and mains plug down along here. You have deep wells and basket wells for storage. There is, I'm not going to pull it all apart, there is storage all underneath the bench seats. Single glaze, this is another one of those differences. So the new Garcias now, as you know, the windows are upright. And are slanting forward and double glazed. These are single glaze. Still really, really well insulated, I might add. Another view of the saloon. And then there is storage and freezer space and so on under all these benches. And access to your diesel tanks and water tanks are all underneath the panels. I'm not going to lift them up. You know, I'd like to, but once again, we're at a boat show. You have a starboard side, slightly dropped down galley. One thing I like about this galley, walking through, so you've come down from the companionway, you have grab handles high, you have grab handles low, and then you're straight away, you've got really deep fiddles on the right hand side for the galley. The backrest for the chair, you have handrails that hold all the way forward. If you need to brace yourself, if you're talking to anybody in the saloon, you can brace yourself against, I'm against one island at the moment, there's another island there within the saloon. Underneath here in the saloon you have drawer storage, so they're maximising the space there. I'll open up one of them for you so you can see. You've got little sea catches there, so pretty deep drawers. Close that off. This is something that they've stopped on their modern boats. It's the same with the 52. Something we didn't show on the sea trial, but the cutlery drawers and that just kept flying open and stuff going everywhere, and they stopped doing this. And I know a lot of the shipyards stopped putting them on because they're ugly, but they serve a point. I think absolutely brilliant. So forward in the galley, you have a microwave. There is a stainless steel, you know, standard fridge here that works. It's in line with the boat, so it's opening in the right direction. You know how I feel about that? And then you have a top loading fridge. There is plenty of light coming through that port light, so you can see out while you're cooking. And above me, I have these lovely windows up here. Twin stainless steel sinks. Over there is a 3-burner gimbaled stove, and you could have it electric if you wanted the solar. Just to give you an idea. Not self-closing, it's a 2008 boat, but you can do that if you want to. More drawers over there. There is plenty of cupboard and storage space in this galley. And then in the islands, if you want to have a look, you have cup storage and bottle storage, and that is mirrored over on the island over there. Now, before we go into the owner's cabin, I'm going to start on the starboard side cabin. So a couple of steps down, you have a day head. So it's an electric freshwater flush. Plenty of room. I'm going to go in there and show you how much room is in the shower. Now in between, so you can have this as crew bunks or kiddie bunks, or I should have turned a light on. There's more space in there than it looks. They're really, really big bunks, you know, passenger bunks. But in between, you have a separate shower, and it's a rainhead shower. So I'm going to show you. I should bring a measuring tape. I'm 5'8", 5'9", and I say that in the morning I'm 5'9", and in the evening I'm 5'8". You know, it all depends on how many beers or whiskies, and sometimes I could be just 1 foot. Some of you will get that joke. Anyway, so I can just touch my hand on the top. So it's 5'8", 9 plus 3/4 of my arm. So if you're tall, this is definitely the boat for you. There is plenty of storage in the bathroom. I'll open one of the drawers. And then you have slide cupboards here, and they go back. All ventilated, which is really, really good. Access to tanks there. And if you just want the hand bit of the shower, that's there. Now there's a room I really love. So instead of coming out of here, you'll notice this door handle, and I left the lights on. So insulated thermal fire door, and then into the heart of this ship. So saltwater strainers over there. In here you have everything: your generator, your engine, water maker, water heater. It is all in here. I'll show you the headroom. So plenty of headroom. There's plenty of room, even from my shoulder. You have access to all the mechanical parts, the exhausts, hydraulic pumps. It could be going around it. So your engine there, and the companionway will lift up. So your motor's there. I will find out what horsepower it is, but I'm pretty sure it's either 150 or 180 horsepower as a minimum. But don't quote me on that. I will find out what it is, and the information will come across the screen. So there's your Onan generator and so on. Clean, really clean and tidy. This boat's been well looked after. I'm going to spin you round. Turn the lights off. So access to, once again I'm back in the bathroom now, so you have access to your engine here as well. Underneath the companionway here, so that'll lift up, and you can see just by the companionway you have your generator controls. It's really easy stuff. And then on the port side you have another cabin. This is in theory officially a 2 cabin with an extra. I'd say really it is a 3 cabin, but anyway, so you have a large double coming through, port light up on my left side, so that goes into the cockpit. It is a large double. You have a hanging locker here, shelf storage. There is a nice seat down here to get changed in, and above the wardrobe another port light for ventilation. And to give you an idea once again of head height in here, I'm not going to go through the I'm XX, but there's loads of room to get changed within this cabin, so it is a proper double. You know, I'm swinging you around here, we could dance all night anyway. Right, we'll stop there. And just within this cabin it has its own head. Once again, an electric flush, fresh water, and another huge shower with a rain head up above. Nice thing with this is it's got a pocket door. I wish more shipyards would use pocket doors because they are great for space saving. And then, I mean, that brings you straight up, once again, a couple of steps. As you can see, even with around this side of the bench, you've got more storage drawers. You could, if you wanted to do some mods, you could maybe have the saloon table changed so you can have a drop-down table. But once again, I will alliterate all your diesel tanks and water tanks, the typical Garcia DNA. They're all underneath here, so it keeps all the weight central. More storage coming forward. Washing machine. So these guys have sort of been all around the world. Like a nice little pantry area. So you can imagine how many times, people always saying, oh, these buttons are rubbish and they're cheap and so on. You can imagine how many times these have been used since 2008. Nothing wrong with them, still working. So we're going to come forward into the owner's cabin. Very, very handy bookshelf there. I quite like the colour style that this boat's been done in. And then down here you have a couple of drawers. Very, very deep drawers. So that is set up. So you have 4 drawers there, and then behind that a really large, this side's hanging, you can put bits in there. Look at that. Once again, a nice cupboard. If you have a look, love this, just to give you an idea. That's how they work. So, and then an inside semi-island double berth. So you're very, very close to the mast. There's a very stable part of the boat. There is space for lee cloths or a lee board in between the mattresses if you need to. Otherwise I would use probably the saloon. Over on that side, as you can see, you have USB charging, mains plug, stereo system, reading lights which also do red light, so you keep your night vision. Up above you have some really nice head lockers. Opening hatch, both port and starboard for ventilation. This is set up with their heating system. One thing I really like, you have a vanity come desk and so on here. I think it's really good, really well set out. Do your office work or whatever. USB charging, another reading light, and then telly. And all important, hi guys, you have your owner's suite. So once again, you have underneath here, you have your fresh water toilet flush, electric flush, heater rail for your towels. There are some good overhead cabinets up above. There's plenty, this boat isn't limited on storage, okay? So there is plenty of storage on this boat. I'm going to make use of the seat down here on the toilet and then show you the owner's shower. So you have once again your hand wand for the shower and then a rain head shower head. Nice seat in there if you're underway, if it's a bit bumpy or you just want to sit down. And that is that opening hatch we saw up on the deck. So give you a look from here, the light that's coming through. It's really, really hard. This is up for sale for just over 1.1 million. As I said, I will leave the details for the agent down below. It's being sold by an independent broker. They have the entire history of the yacht. It's in fabulous, fabulous condition. And if you're in the market, say if you're in the market for an Allure 51.9 or something like that, even second hand, that's going to hit you about £1 million. This is where my money would be. You know, it's a fabulous, fabulous boat. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. As I said, I will leave the gentleman's details there and their email. That's it. Thank you very much.